Hi everybody! Today my guest is someone who believes in the power of youth and who has shaped his work around his passion for the environment and his family legacy. Welcome and thank you for joining me, Philippe Cousteau.
It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are quite a busy man as the founder of the nonprofit organization EarthEcho International, speaker, TV host of Exploration Awesome Planet, and you're also the co-writer of Oceans for Dummies that was just released, and a young dad.
That's right. That's right. We've had our hands full this past year for sure.
So thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today. As I was saying, you have one-of-a-kind legacies. Your father was a gifted pilot, a multi-awarded cinematographer specializing in the environmental issues, and he took his first dive with a mini aqualung when he was 4. The man behind this epic fact is, of course, your grandfather, Captain Jacques Cousteau, who needs no introduction. As amongst so many great achievements, he has co-invented the aqualung, the first step to underwater scuba diving. And I thank him for that because I am a scuba diver.
Me too.
How come with such a background, your first dream was to be a fireman, and what made you change your mind?
Well, it was actually when I was 16 years old, and actually, do you want to say hello to a special little person here who just walked in?
Oh my goodness. Oh, and my cat just walked in as well. Oh my goodness, hello. Oh, hold on, my cat. Oh my goodness, she's the cutest little girl I have ever seen. My cat.
This is Vivian. So you mentioned I'm a new dad. She's 21 months, right, Boof? And she always knows when we're on video calls and doing interviews and stuff. She loves to come in and say hello. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi.
Hi. Oh, she's the cutest little thing I've ever seen.
So, growing up as a little boy, I think at one stage or another, every little boy wants to be a firefighter. But, as I got older and got to watch my grandfather's films and my father's films and kind of see all of their extraordinary work, I knew I wanted to do something. So, my grandfather was a huge influence on me growing up. Of course, I knew my grandfather. He passed away when I was 17. My father, as I'm sure you know, died a few months before I was born.
Yeah.
And so I really, wanted to get to know them more and follow in the spirit of that legacy, which for me growing up was very much, here, why don't you go see Mama? Was very much like real life Indiana Jones, traveling the world, going to all these exotic places and, doing amazing things. So when I was 16 years old, actually, I had the opportunity to go to Papua New Guinea in just a little bit, that would be southwest of you a little bit, I believe, or west of you all, where you are in Borneo, with Dr. Eugenie Clark, who is one of the most extraordinary oceanographers of the 20th century and a pioneering. She was one of the first female oceanographers and was a friend of my father's and my grandfather's. And so at 16, I had an opportunity to go on expedition with her. It was my first real expedition because by the time I was old enough to go on expedition, my grandfather was in his 80s. He wasn't doing many expeditions anymore. He was more traveling as a global statesman, an ambassador for the environment and for the ocean. So at 16, I went to Papua New Guinea, spent 2 weeks in Milne Bay with Jeannie and doing research and exploration. And it was just like I thought. We were out visiting like remote tribes and trading our rice and flour and things like that for fresh vegetables. And they would come out and trade in handmade dugout canoes, and we'd be diving and filming and hiking through these areas, these caves with like ancient skulls in them. I mean, it felt like Indiana Jones, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing. This is the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. And that kind of set me on the course of pursuing a career in exploration and adventure.
So let's talk about EarthEcho International you founded with your sister, Alexandra, and your mother, Jean Cousteau, in 2005. This is a fantastic tool, very informative, interactive, and empowering for the young generation. But not only, as there are also plenty of educational resources for teachers on the latest addition to this platform called EarthEcho Academy, or expeditions filmed for anyone to watch. About these expeditions, how do you choose the issue you want to film about and the destination? You are based in Los Angeles, but I saw you went to England and Australia as well.
Yeah, we've been traveling a lot with EarthEcho expeditions. You know, it goes back to the root of our vision for the organization. You know, my father and grandfather always said, we can't talk about conservation without talking about education first. And that really inspired us to pursue an organization and to build EarthEcho into a leading global environmental education organization. And our mission is to build a global youth movement to restore and protect our planet, our ocean planet. And so in order to do that, we really recognize that young people, you don't have to spark, as we see, for example, with your incredible leadership already. For most young people, you don't have to spark a passion for the environment. You don't have to tell them, you know, this is important. They get it. There is an existing passion. They're fired up and optimistic. Really what we find at EarthEcho and we believe in is providing the tools and the resources and the knowledge and a community. Increasingly, we're building a global community of youth leaders who, so that young people can go out and discover their own power, their own superpowers, and become agents for change in their communities. And so part of providing that knowledge is really exploring what are the critical environmental issues that exist in the world today. And so EarthEcho Expeditions is a program where we travel around the world exploring, let's see, we've done ocean acidification and climate change and marine, you know, pollution and plastics and dead zones and lots of different subject matter. We work with a group of teachers then to turn a lot of that content into classroom materials so that we can help essentially train the trainer. We believe teachers are so important. And so we provide a lot of resources for educators and teachers to then reach young people in their classrooms to help them understand the challenges that the world is facing, the environment is facing, and then give them the kinds of additional tools and resources to say, now you know about it, now go do something about it.
Do you have any plan to come to Borneo? Let's say around Sabah when flying will be back to normal?
You know, not any plans right now, but I will say this, that I was in Sumatra about maybe 5 years ago with CNN filming a series called Expedition Sumatra, where we were looking at the highly endangered Sumatran orangutans, deforestation, palm oil plantations, and the issues all around that, and the orangutans, rhinos, and elephants and tigers that are all, you know, highly endangered in Sumatra. I fell in love with that part of the world, and so my wife is very jealous, very much wants to see there. So I think Borneo is definitely towards the top of our list, another place that I would love to go. And I didn't get to do any diving actually off of Sumatra, so that's also on my list. Have you done much diving? I assume you have off Borneo.
Oh, I've done diving since I was 8 years old here.
Outstanding.
This is
well,
the
then you'll
only
have to be
place I've done.
my dive guide, our dive guide.
I've dived in Bali. The water was crystal clear. But I do a lot of my diving here. Yeah, it's based around here. It's great. I understand the COVID situation must have forced you to postpone these expeditions, but you just tell us where your next adventure will bring you and your team.
So our plan with EarthEcho Expeditions is we're looking at Puerto Rico as the next destination and really exploring renewable energy and the link with climate change in the ocean as our next big issue. But you also mentioned EarthEcho Academy. So EarthEcho Expeditions is actually kind of morphing into the Academy, where we have lots and lots of content at EarthEcho and lots of amazing partners that we work with. And so what we've recognized is that we really want to enhance and increase our outreach to teachers and increase the volume and the teachers that we reach. And so that's really what the Academy is about. And also not just, and then start to bring some of the other content we've created and the resources that we have, like the EarthEcho Water Challenge and the Our Echo Biodiversity Challenge and all the different things that we do under kind of one umbrella in the Academy of a teacher training resource. So programs continue to evolve and grow. Another big thing that we're focused on at EarthEcho right now is 30 by 30, the vision to protect 30% of the oceans by 2030. And that's going to be an increasingly big focus for us over the next few years to build a global youth movement in support of that.
Yeah, well, the list goes on for what you could do. I don't think you're going to run out anytime soon.
That's unfortunately, you're right. We always say that, you know, those of us in environmental conservation, there's no shortage of need for the work that we do, unfortunately.
Yes, that's for sure. I particularly enjoyed on your website a lot the STEM Explore section, introducing with short videos or virtual events all the careers in these fields. It is so inspiring to hear from the professionals themselves. And then there are these virtual events organized and hosted by the EarthEcho Youth Leadership Council. What is this council about and who can join?
So the EarthEcho Youth Leadership Council is just an astonishingly inspiring group of young people from around the world. Every 2 years, we have a new kind of class that rotates in, or group, and they're young people that have established their leadership in their communities, and that really want to expand their networks and build their platform as youth leaders. And so they join a 2-year, I'd say, mentorship, training, empowerment program with us to really help continue to advance that work. And I tell you, it's one of the most important programs that we run at EarthEcho.
What are some examples of the training you give them?
So we do a lot of communications training. That's one of the core beliefs at EarthEcho. And my number one advice to young people, or to anybody, frankly, who comes to ask me, what they should do, and any insight or advice that I have. And what I always tell them is that no matter what you're interested in, no matter what your passion is, the most important and valuable tool that you can develop in your arsenal is communications. How to tell story, how to inspire people, how to sell ideas. And so that is one of the first things that we do with our youth leaders is we run them through some pretty advanced communications training, how to do interviews, how to give interviews, how to conduct interviews, how to give speeches, how to speak in public, how to inspire people, how to organize thoughts and messages. We do more specific things around press releases and understanding how the media works, and writing op-eds, and how do you construct articles, and how do you do television and media, things like that are really the basics that underpin understanding good communications. And then we give as many opportunities as we can, which are not insignificant, to our Youth Leadership Council members to join either myself in co-writing op-eds or giving speeches at conferences as a co-speaker. We really believe in using our platform to empower young people, give them an opportunity to inspire others and to practice those skills, so that after the 2 years is done, they can really go out in the world and continue their amazing work.
Your EarthEcho Challenge is back on for this year. I know you're very excited about that.
Yep.
Around the nation, children put together and bring forward their idea for making the environment better where they live. You pick winners and grant them money to support their idea. Can you give us an example of a winning project that particularly impressed you?
Sure. So as you said, this is the second year of the EarthEcho Challenge. It's a United States National Biodiversity Challenge, where we invite teams of young people, middle and early high school, to come together and identify a problem in their community for biodiversity, a biodiversity problem, and then design a project to help solve that problem. So last year, the grand prize winning team, Team Crayfish out here in California, they worked on a project to remove invasive crayfish, which are like these tiny little, related to lobsters, but they're freshwater. But they're very small, only about this big, and to remove them from the Santa Monica rivers and streams in the Santa Monica mountains. And they had extraordinary success. And the whole idea is really recognizing that invasive species is a massive problem in the world. And even a small little creature like a crayfish can completely upend and destroy an entire ecosystem, because they're voracious predators. They eat everything, all the little baby fish and macroinvertebrates that are so important to the balance of that ecosystem, and they have no predators because they're an invasive. So nothing is evolved in that ecosystem to eat them. So they proliferate like crazy, they need everything. And so these young people not only worked on developing better traps and better tools for the capture of these animals, but then also conducted lots of community-based education with community groups and visitors to parks and things like that about the crayfish and about the problem.
You are hosting and co-producing Exploration Awesome Planet, a TV science series where you experience the Earth in its most dangerous and peaceful ways. What was one of the moments while filming that was the most extreme?
We were filming Humboldt squid, which are baby giant squid. They get up 5, 6 feet long, as big as me. These giant squid. Their
Wow.
beaks, because squid and octopus, they have a like a bird's beak. Is looks like a bird's beak. A parrot beak is their mouth, and their beaks are like as big as my fist. They have a kind of a pinkish color to them, but they can flash this bright red color up and down their bodies and like strobe. And they only come up. They normally live in the deep water. They only come up to the surface at night to feed.
Yeah.
So to film them, you have to go out at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch black outside.
Oh, oh, let me guess.
Get in the
You
water,
found some.
and you're out in the middle of the Sea of Cortez, and it was rough. And so we had to tether ourselves on with a line to the boat,
Yeah.
because otherwise, in the middle of the night, you'd be washed out, disappear. And so that the line was about 100, 150 feet long. We were hanging out in the deep. All our lights are off because you don't want to scare this squid away. They're not attracted to lights.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, you look down as they start coming up towards you, because they come up en masse in these massive areas in the Sea of Cortez, hundreds of thousands of them. And it's this red glowing light that's slowly approaching you. And it was really terrifying. All of a sudden, you have hundreds of these massive squid, again, like 6 feet long, with eyeballs that are like this big and beaks this big, and they're cannibalistic, so they will attack each other. And if one of them gets injured, others will like eat it. And they come right up to you with their tentacles and like put them all over you. Like they're curious what you are, and they're looking at you, kind of like swimming by, touching you with their tentacles, touching the camera. And so the cameraman is like hanging, 5 feet away from me in the water, and we're like swaying in the current. It's the middle of the night. It's pitch black. If the tether broke and they're holding onto these wires and us, and if something goes wrong, it was really dangerous. But we got some really amazing footage, and that was. And I've been diving with all number of different kinds of sharks, tiger sharks, and great white sharks, and seen them, without cages, and I've never felt threatened. But these squid were pretty freaky, I will say.
Wow. There's so many creatures that I wouldn't, that sounded like an alien. That sounded like you were
It did.
describing something that didn't exist, with
It
eyes
felt
this
like it.
big and a beak. Like,
Oh, it was wild. Yeah, it was wild.
you co-wrote the book Oceans for Dummies with your wife Ashline Cousteau and Joe Craniac, summarizing the ocean and its complex wildlife and habitats in 24 chapters. I have it.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That's terrific.
That's great. And I saw on one of your videos on Instagram that you were showing Cousteau. Oh, you can't see
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
have it.
It is. It's fun. It stacks like Cousteau, because that there's more than one
Yeah.
author. They'll both last names. Yeah, like you said, Cousteau. That was a lot of fun. Actually, I'd have to give credit to my wife, Ashlyn. She wrote 21 of 24 chapters, and she is so extraordinary in so many ways. But really put the work in on that book, and it's really exciting for us to put a book like that together that tells a lot of the issues facing the ocean in a fun, accessible way for people.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we really believe is that we need more ocean literacy, we need more environmental literacy and knowledge out there. And a lot of the resources of books and things that exist can be a little bit a little earnest and a little heavy. And my wife, amongst many other things, has such a wonderful sense of humor, and so she wrote it in a way that's really easy to read and fun. And we had a lot of amazing underwater photographers who let us use their photos throughout the book. And so we were really fortunate. We're really proud of that project. People still don't appreciate the importance of the oceans to the world.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about things like climate change. Well, climate change is an ocean problem, because the oceans regulate our climate, as we talk about in the book, and as you of course already know. And the oceans are oftentimes treated as a victim. Yet the oceans are also a powerful ally, and probably the most important ally in combating things like climate change, biodiversity loss. And a lot of people still don't understand that. And my grandfather always said, you can't protect what you don't love, and you can't love something you don't understand. So for us, Oceans for Dummies is another part of our journey in helping people understand the ocean.
I want to finish how we started by honoring your grandfather and your father, as I know they were both a big inspiration to you. Have you ever thought of doing long expeditions like your father and grandfather used to do on the Calypso for months? Maybe with your daughter one day?
It is a goal of ours someday to be able to spend more time. I think the challenge nowadays is documentaries are so expensive to make. Um, it's not quite the same as it was back then, in terms of being able to put a big team of people out in the field for a long period of time. But definitely we're working towards that goal of being able to support filmmaking, etc., for extended periods and be on an expedition with our kids. Yeah.
Do you plan to break the record and put your kid into diving before she turns 4?
Well, she's definitely loves to swim. But I don't. That's a good question. I should see if we work with Aqualung. We're global ambassadors for Aqualung. I should see if they have a little baby mini. Now she couldn't go down because the physiology can be questionable and the impact on little bodies. But she could breathe through a regulator at the surface. I think that's a good idea. That's going to target that for that'll be going to be our goal. We've got 2 years to get her in a reg in the ocean, breathing comfortably at the surface. So you just put that on my mind, Julia. So now we're going to do it.
I know you unfortunately, sadly, didn't get the chance to know your father who passed away before you were born. Is there any advice your grandfather gave to you that follow you today in your life, professionally or personally?
One of the things that that I always remembered was a quote of my father's that my mother would always tell us, that adventure is where you lead a full life. And it's kind of our motto, and it's a reminder to get out there and explore, and that exploring the world and going on adventures, whether it's in your backyard or it's across the world, never to be satisfied with the status quo, never to be satisfied with what you know, and how the world works, and always challenge ourselves to learn more. And I think that's what adventure to me means, is learning. And exploring and seeing how the world works. Another thing to remember that I've learned over the years in my travels is going on these adventures and traveling around the world and seeing all these amazing things and meeting these amazing people is extraordinary. But it also makes me grateful for the times that I'm at home and the times I'm with family and the times that you sleep in your own bed. Those can be very precious too. So yes, it's a wonderful gift and a wonderful opportunity, but it's important to also remember and appreciate the times that you spend at home.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing with your wife and your team for the future generation and for the planet. Your tremendous work is very inspiring, and I can tell you, you are the living proof that the apple never falls far from the tree. Have a wonderful evening and weekend, Philippe Cousteau.
Julia, I just want to say something really quick to you. I have been interviewed by a lot of people in my life.
Yeah.
And this was one of the most prepared and thoughtful interviews, and I mean that I've ever had. Clearly, your poise, your thoughtfulness, your passion, your inquisitiveness, your intelligence, all of those things come through, and that's not always the case. And it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. I'm so impressed and so thrilled to have spent this time. And I'm so inspired by you and what you do. And frankly, that's why you're the reason we do the work we do every day, that I wake up, because with all the problems that exist in the world and all the challenges that we see, it's when I get an opportunity to work with such inspiring, extraordinary young people like yourself and see that optimism and that passion for the future, and that we can make the world a better place. That's what keeps me going. So thank you. I really am grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you too.
Anytime, Julia. Anytime at all. Anything you need.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you for watching today's inspiring interview. I hope you enjoyed it. The younger generation has the power to make a big change in this world, and the Cousteaus clearly believe that. Let's make a better future. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.